Have you ever been alone at night, only to feel like someone or something is watching you from the shadows? What if I told you there are places where this eerie feeling isn't just in your head, places where the past refuses to stay buried and forgotten? Tonight I'll take you to 3 college campuses where the halls echo with whispers of unfinished stories and secrets. These aren't just ghost stories, they're real accounts from people who lived to tell the tale, or maybe wished they hadn't experienced it. I'll never forget the night I crossed paths with the spirit of Sarah. It was an encounter that would forever change my perception of the supernatural. It was my sophomore year at UNC Chapel Hill, late on a freezing November night. The campus was eerily quiet, with only the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty pathways. The silence was almost deafening, amplifying every rustle of leaves and distant hoot of an owl. The smell of damp leaves filled the air as I walked past the infamous bell tower, the one everyone said was haunted. The stories always seemed like just that. Stories. Legends passed down from one generation of students to the next. I never believed in ghost stories until that night. I always thought they were just tales to scare freshmen, but as I walked I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I stopped dead in my tracks when I heard it, a sound that sent chills down my spine. It was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. The bells tolling, but it wasn't the usual chime. It was something far more unsettling. The sound was distorted, low, almost mournful, like a cry cut short. It was as if the bell itself was weeping. The resonance seemed to penetrate my very soul. The thing is, it was 3 a.m. and the bells weren't supposed to ring. The tower was supposed to be silent at that hour. The eerie tolling felt like a call from another world. My gut told me to leave, but curiosity got the better of me. I had to know what was causing that sound. It was as if an invisible force was pulling me towards the tower. I stepped closer, my breath visible in the cold air. Each step felt heavier than the last. The air grew colder, and my heart pounded in my chest. And that's when I felt it. A wave of icy cold swept past me despite there being no wind. It was like walking through a freezer. The chill seemed to seep into my bones. My hands shook as I aimed my flashlight toward the tower door. The beam of light wavered as my grip tightened. The door looked ancient, as if it hadn't been opened in years. I didn't see anything at first, but then I felt it again. That cold presence, like someone was standing right behind me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I could almost hear the faint whisper of a breath. I froze, and then I heard her, a sound that would haunt me forever. A woman sobbing, soft but clear. It was a heart-wrenching sound filled with sorrow, the kind of sorrow that lingers in the air. I turned around, and there she was. A figure that seemed to float in the mist, a blurry figure, pale, dressed in white. Her presence was both ethereal and terrifying. She seemed to be searching for something or someone, but her face, there was no face, just emptiness, a void where her features should have been. It was as if her identity had been erased. I ran harder than I'd ever run in my life. My heart pounded in my chest as I fled. The fear was overwhelming, driving me to escape as fast as I could. No one believed me the next morning, but the locals? They just nodded. "It's Sarah," they said. as if it was a common occurrence. Their nonchalance was almost as chilling as the encounter itself. The girl who fell in love with a professor who didn't want her. A tragic love story that ended in despair. Her love unrequited, her heart broken. They said she died here, but no one knows how. Her death remains a mystery, shrouded in rumours and whispers. Some say it was an accident, others believe it was something more sinister. Only that her grief keeps her tethered to the bell tower. And if you hear those bells at 3 a.m., you're never truly alone. Her sorrowful spirit lingers, a reminder of a love that could never be. College dorms are supposed to be full of life, but not Johnson-McFarlane Hall at the University of Denver, at least not at night. I lived there for 2 semesters, and trust me, sometimes the life there isn't what you expect. The atmosphere would change as soon as the sun went down, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. It started with the lights. They'd flicker at strange hours, but only outside my door. It was as if they were trying to send a message, a warning perhaps. I wrote it off as old wiring until one night when I heard the whispers. They were faint but unmistakable, like a distant conversation. They weren't words exactly, but just hushed tones, like a conversation I wasn't meant to hear. It sent chills down my spine, making me question my own sanity. I thought it was my neighbour, so I peeked out of my room, but the hallway was empty, completely deserted, as if everyone had vanished. The next night, it got worse. I woke up to the sound of someone pacing outside my door, heels clicking methodically against the floor. It was relentless, echoing through the silent hall. I swung my door open, and this time I saw her, a young woman walking slowly down the hallway. Her presence was both eerie and mesmerizing. I called out, but she didn't answer. She just kept walking, as if in a trance, oblivious to my presence. When I tried to follow her, she disappeared, vanished before my eyes. It was like she was never there, leaving me questioning what I had just witnessed. I learned later that a girl had died in that dorm years before I moved in. Her story was well known among the older students. People say she fell to her death outside one of the windows. It was a tragic accident, or so they believed. They never found out if it was an accident or something more sinister. The mystery remains unsolved, leaving a dark cloud over the hall, but the whispers, the heels, they say it's her, trying to relive her last moments again and again, a haunting reminder of a life cut short. I didn't believe in ghosts, not until I started working late nights in the Waterman Building. The building had always seemed like just another old structure on campus, but I was about to discover its dark secrets, secrets that would make me question everything I thought I knew about the supernatural. It was supposed to be a quiet place to get work done, but every night I felt like I was intruding on someone or something. The atmosphere was thick with an unsettling presence, almost as if the walls themselves were whispering. One night, as I was packing up my things, I heard footsteps. They echoed through the empty halls, sending chills down my spine. The sound was unmistakable, like someone was walking right behind me, heavy, deliberate. But when I looked down the hallway, it was empty, not a soul in sight. The silence that followed was almost deafening. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe the old building was playing tricks on me. Until the doors started slamming. The sound was deafening, echoing through the empty corridors. It felt like the building was alive, reacting to my presence. The air grew thick, like something was in the room with me. It felt like an invisible force was pressing down on me. Breathing became difficult, and I could feel my heart racing. I turned to leave, but as I reached the elevator, I saw him, a shadowy figure that seemed to materialize out of nowhere. My heart skipped a beat. A man standing in the shadows at the end of the hallway. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, staring. His eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, locking onto mine. And then he was gone, just like that, vanished into thin air. I was left standing there, questioning my sanity. Later, I found out the Waterman Building used to be a hospital during the 1940s, a place with its own dark history, a history that seemed to linger in the very fabric of the building, and a patient died there under mysterious circumstances. The details were never fully explained. The more I learned, the more the pieces of the puzzle seemed to fit together. Staff say his spirit roams the halls at night, seeking something or maybe someone. The mystery remains unsolved, and the haunting continues. To this day, the Waterman Building holds its secrets close, leaving those who dare to enter with more questions than answers. These stories are more than whispers in the dark. They remind us that while time may pass, some things refuse to be forgotten. The question is, what would you do if you encountered them? Subscribe for more chilling tales if you dare.